Hello, kids. This is the story of the ant and the grasshopper. An ant and grasshopper lived in the forest. The ant worked hard. The grasshopper was lazy. The ant told the grasshopper to get to work. Winter was coming soon and they needed food. The grasshopper said he didn't care and went to sleep. 4 months later, winter came. It was freezing. The ant had a lot of food to eat. The grasshopper had no food to eat. He went to the ant's house to ask for food. The ant felt sorry for the grasshopper. He told him he should have worked hard in the summer and should not be lazy. The end. Very good. Boys and girls, this is one story that we're going to be listening to for today. And tomorrow, Miss Lordy will be reading The Cardinal and the Robin. So, if you have a printer at home, you can print this out. If you have a notebook at home, you can glue it into your notebook. So I'm going to show you many different ways to do this. If you have a printer and a notebook, this is one thing you can do. And simply glue the stories down on one page. And then I'm going to cut the edges off around this sheet. Try to stay outside the black lines. And all of my paper, like we do at school. And glue the back. I like to make a big X and a big square around the X. And normally that's enough glue. There we go. And I press it down. So if you have a printer at home and you're able to print this off, you can go ahead and print this. Sorry, dropped my camera. Print this off. And we will go from there. So now, let's move into the actual lesson with the questions. I am going to do it this way because we're focusing only one story today. So I am going to just cut my half of the story off for today, since this is the focus. And going to glue it here. And I'm actually going to use crayons. So if you have your crayons, I have a whole tray of crayons here. I have some in a box. I have them close by. I'm just going to write my name here where it says name. And then the question, we're only focusing on question 1 today. So I'm just gonna cut number 1 off. Now this is just for my teaching purposes. Now your parents can still keep your page the way it is, that you've already glued on if you have it. This is just for me to teach from. And I'm going to show you what you can do if you don't have a notebook and if you don't have any glue and all you have is paper and pencil. I will show you what you can do there as well. So, I'm going to cut my corners off. Put my excess paper off to the side. And so there's my question and my picture. So this is our focus for today. So I'm just going to start with a bright colored crayon for underlining. Just going to choose any color. The question says, what happens to the ant in the first story? What happens to the ant in the first story? We will have to underline, take our crayon and underline something that happened to the ant in the first story. I'm going to choose the ant worked hard. So whatever I underline, that's what I can write on the lines here. So what happens to the ant in the first story? If I'm going to write it in a complete sentence, I'm going to start with, in the first story. I'm going to mark out the word in and write capital I. Why? Because it's at the beginning of the sentence. My next word is the, finger space, in the. What's my next word? First. Mark it out. In the first. My next word is story, finger space, in the, and I'm going to reread it. In the first story, the ant worked hard. So now I'm going to mark out the word the, make it lowercase, because it's not at the beginning of this sentence. In the first story, the, what's my next word? That's correct, ant. Mark it out and write it. In the first story, the ant worked. Last word, hard. Finger space. What goes to the end of my sentence? A period. Why didn't I write worked and hard in this little space over here? That's correct, because there's not enough space. So when you're writing in the writing direction, you write from left to right. So that means if I run out of space, I'm going to go back to the left and start again on the next line. So the next part of the assignment is to illustrate one event from story 1. So I can think about many different ways that ants work hard to get food. So I'm just going to use my picture here and just draw the ant. Sorry, that's my phone, just ignore it. And do the best you can. And he's gonna have his two arms up. And he's gonna be carrying an apple with those arms up. And then he's gonna be walking with the other 4 legs because they have 6 legs. Insects have 6 legs. 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I'm gonna color my picture and do my best work. So boys and girls, from here, you can have your parents take a picture of your work and then upload it to Seesaw. So for those of you that don't have a notebook, here's an alternative assignment. You can take a sheet of paper. You can even rip a sheet of paper from out of your notebook and do that. Fold it in half. So at the top will be the question. What happens to the ant in the first story? And you can just write your answer. And write it neatly. First story, the ant worked hard. So parents, you may want to draw some lines or have the children draw lines on the paper so they can have lines to write on. Then at the bottom, I can draw my picture from the story and make sure that your picture matches your sentence. So then I'll go ahead and draw my ant. This is actually nicer because the picture, I can draw a larger picture. That's cool. A big abdomen. And 2 little arms. Oh, I ran out of space. It's okay. All right, there's my apple. And the leaf. And his 2 legs at the bottom. 2 legs at the back. And make some feet. There you go. And there's his mouth. All right, so he's trying to store away food for the winter. And of course, I go back and I color it. Sorry about that. And this will be the end of my assignment. And my mom and dad can take a picture of this and post it to Seesaw. The end.